Hi, my name is Tia Matafari Hackett, and I'm here to talk to you about psychotherapy and trauma. So, as a therapist, one of the things that I find really important is to talk just a little bit about the brain when you're talking about trauma, just so you know how it works. And so, what I want to talk to you about is just a few different parts of the brain that are involved when we're talking about trauma and gentle reprocessing. So, there's three parts of the brain we want to talk about: the front, the middle, and the back. So, the middle part is our hippocampus, and I like to call that the sorting facility. Basically, it takes in information and decides where we want to put it. And if it sends it to the front, which is the prefrontal cortex, that's where we store data and information that really has kind of an absence of emotion to it. So that's where you have all your 2 plus 2 is 4. I finished my English class. Now, if information comes into the hippocampus, the middle of our brain, and it's got a lot of emotional intensity behind it, it actually goes into the amygdala, and that's at the back of our brain. And so that's where a lot of times our traumatic memories are stored. Now, why is that important? Well, it's important because we're talking about trauma. So let's talk about two different types of experiences that could be sorted differently in our brain. So let's go to the beach. So let's say you go to the beach and you're having a great day, it's beautiful, there's sun shining out, and you decide to go in the water. You go into the water and you're having a great time, you're splashing around, and all of a sudden a rogue wave comes to you. The rogue wave hits you, spins you around, you no longer know what side is up and what side is down. Maybe you've got panic you're feeling, maybe you're feeling nauseous because you're getting flipped around, so that's the feeling. And the emotion behind it, and maybe you're having the physical sensation of the nausea. And the negative belief might be, oh God, I'm going to die. That experience, when it comes into the hippocampus, might get sorted back to your amygdala and get stuck there because you've had all those 4 components we talked about earlier about trauma and what can cause a trauma. So what happens next, you come out of it, you're saved, thank goodness, but you come out of it, and maybe a week later, somebody starts talking to you about going to the beach. And all of a sudden, you start panicking, and you start sweating, and you start feeling uncomfortable. Well, why is that? Well, the information, that experience that got stuck in your amygdala is going, danger, danger, danger. We don't want to go back to that beach because remember what happened last time when we went there? That's an example. Well, let's talk about what happens when the hippocampus sends it up to the prefrontal cortex, like that data, like 2 plus 2 is 4. Let's say somebody else goes to the beach and is having a great day, it's beautiful, it's sunshiny out, they go into the water, and they get hit by that rogue wave. But they happened to take a breath before they got pulled under. And they just got flipped around a little bit, and maybe they're a really great swimmer. And so when they got flipped up, they were like, that was kind of odd, or that didn't feel great, but meh. So they didn't have a negative emotion with it. They didn't have a negative feeling in their body. Maybe they had a little twinge of like a little something, but nothing terrible. And they didn't have that negative belief that they were going to die. And so not having those negative emotions getting sent to the hippocampus meant they didn't get stuck back there. So let's bring it back to gentle reprocessing. When negative emotions are getting sent to the hippocampus and getting sent back to the back of our brain, to the amygdala, they get stuck. They get stuck there, and the amygdala says, we have to make sure we remember these things, and anything that smells like this, looks like this, sounds like this, we've got to alert you to get away from it as soon as possible. And so that's what gentle reprocessing does, is we work to make sure that we're unsticking those negative emotions, sending that information back to the hippocampus, and making a path back up to your prefrontal cortex, so that there's this pathway. So now that traumatic memory is unstuck and properly processed, and that information is sent to the front of the brain, and now it's no longer causing you pain. You've gotten energy back, and now you're feeling more empowered. Things like talking about the beach or smelling ocean air is no longer triggering you in the same way. And so that's one of the reasons I love using gentle reprocessing so much, and that's why I think some of the brain information is really important. Thank you.